Today we are here for an artist talk with, my name is Kyra. I'm the assistant here, and today we have Womack, who is an artist as well as an art educator. And I just felt that your work and just your journey in general is something that I feel more people should know about.
Thank you.
Yeah, so how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling a little nervous, but I'm excited, and I appreciate the opportunity to tell my steps and how I became who I am, or I'm still becoming who I am, really.
Yeah. What do you, I feel like childhood definitely plays a big part in that.
Absolutely.
What did yours look like?
My childhood was, my mother really encouraged me to pursue my art. She would often take me to the free library to read books, but I was there reading books, but also looking at the pictures. And that's when I really just started to fall in love with illustration and drawing. And I discovered one of my favorite artists, which is Jerry Pinkney. And he's a watercolorist, and he also allows his pencil line to show in his drawings. So I kind of incorporated that in mine as well. And my mother was the one that really pushed me to go after my passion. I would draw all the time in the house, constantly carrying water from the bathroom sink to my room, dripping it on the floor. And she didn't freak out on me. She was okay with it. So she was my biggest push. My dad was very creative as well. He loved to take, he was a photographer, and he would doodle on little pieces of paper around the house, and I would copy his doodles often when I was little. So, but really, and he would take me to South Street. That was his thing. He loved taking me to South Street.
There's a lot of
So my parents were very, very, they pushed me and they encouraged me.
You had a strong support system.
Very strong.
Which is definitely really important for this particular, however you want to look at it, whether it's passion, career, just the journey in general. I feel like it's definitely really important to have a support system.
Absolutely.
And then just for you to have had that from the start, and then your parents are also artistically inclined as well. So it just kind of came through you as well.
Yeah. Really awesome. Yeah. It was a blessing to have them both, because they started it really, and they pushed it. My mom sent me to more College of Art Saturday classes when I was a little girl. I would go there, oh my gosh, I don't know, maybe for 3 or 4 years on Saturdays, and I'd get scholarships, and she would drive me down there. So it was really my mom who really was the person who gave me that. Go ahead and go for it.
That's awesome. More freedom.
Yes, and it's just total. My collages are not illustrative. They don't have. They're not a picture per se. They're abstract.
So a feeling.
Okay. So I just love that you can kind of mishmash anything into them. So I still do them, but not as much as I do the watercolor. The watercolor is my main go-to, but I still do go back to collage.
Do you feel like they are polar opposites in that regard? Then?
They are, but I do incorporate them a little bit into this one. I have some collage elements in it, the rooftop. This is collage, but that's also watercolor. So I incorporate it sometimes into my pictures. So I do mishmash the two.
Yeah, when you brought this one in before, it was the first one that really grabbed my eye, because the colors are really rich, and even just the different kinds of textures, the black outline on the trees really make it stand out.
This is my daughter goes to the University of Pitt, while my husband's driving, I'm out the window. I'm out on the car side, on the passenger side, taking pictures because the scenery is just amazing. So this is one of the pictures that I took while he was driving. I used it, I drew from it. I mean, I had tons and tons of pictures. It's like the landscape going up to Pittsburgh is just beautiful. Oh my gosh.
Do you do that often where you use like particular references that you see like in your everyday life, or like for some of the portraits, if you do like sitting, or if you just take a picture, or like have a picture, like how does that process?
Well, this one was my father-in-law, and I actually was just a photo that I reinterpreted and made into a painting, and I just love that it shows him relaxing, and he was just such an awesome guy that I've done this painting twice. One small, then I made it a bigger one. But yeah, that one was, I used a photo, just a regular photo that I had from the house. And then that one is a photo reference of some, like family, friends all together, but I kind of reinterpreted the faces. So again, a photo reference. I use photo references for the majority of my work, honestly.
The detail of the hair is like, it's very subtle, but like also very distinct as well.
Yeah.
I like that.
Thank you.
In terms of this one here, what is the background on this piece?
The blue watercolor wash. And then I just wanted to kind of like make it a little bit darker on one side for more contrast. But just blue watercolor wash, that's all. Watercolor paint. Yeah.
And then what inspired you to start this piece?
This one, I kind of was thinking along the lines, I can't think of the artist, the classic painting, but the girl with the pearl earring, it kind of gives me, that kind of was my, so, but I wanted to put a different spin on it, so, yeah, that was my inspiration for that painting.
A lot of like the expressions in your pieces, like they all have very, they have very calm expressions, but then there's still like a lot of attitude. Like especially in this piece here, like, there's like a lot.
Showing his strength, showing that his resilience. I think my father-in-law was 92 when he passed, I think. So this to show like he was just this really strong and awesome guy. He was just a sweetheart of a person. So I was really trying to capture that in that painting. He was a real gentleman. He was very, very tall. He was like a gentle giant.
I think that's also the beauty of like being a creative or being an artist, is that you can like capture moments or feelings, and it might mean something to you personally, but it can also, other people are able to connect with it. Maybe not the same way that you do, but they can still have their own experience, and then so forth, in terms of like collecting pieces and like that nature. Yeah, I think that's awesome. What do you find to be like your favorite aspect? Like, not your favorite, but like the best and the worst part of being an artist?
I would say the worst part is the isolation, because you spend a lot of time alone. And sometimes it does feel like, you know, you would like a little bit more interaction with people, but with social media, it kind of does allow you to have a little more interaction, because you're filming and you get people commenting, and then you build a community. So that would be the drawback for me, is the quiet time. It's a lot of quiet time when you're making your art, but the benefits are just the solitude. It's a plus and a minus, and the peace that I get from making my art, and it also helps me to relax and to kind of just disengage a little bit. So art is like a therapy for me, honestly. Definitely. I think it has been, honestly, since I was a little girl, really. So definitely the therapy aspect. But sometimes you do art in there like by yourself for hours, and it's like,
I need to go socialize.
I need to go kind of get up with people here, you know. Yeah. So yeah.
So for it being something that is like personal to you, like a personal experience, where then does education come into play because you are a teacher?
I'm art teacher. Art education is awesome because you get to share your passion with kids. And then they come back and they tell you that they're doing it in high school and they went to art school. And then you're like, huh? And they actually come back and visit me and tell me those things. So I feel like I had a part in that. And just also that they're able to see themselves in me. Being I am African American, a lot of times they're like, I want to be an art teacher. And I'm like, that's awesome. So I feel like I play a part in that as well, allowing kids to be able to see themselves in me. And then like a lot of the lessons that I plan, I try to make sure that I incorporate African American artists, art from around the world. I don't make it one culture driven. I try to make sure I include all cultures in my lessons that I present to the kids, which again allows them to see themselves, allows them to, oh my gosh, I heard that, I saw that before, and it's like, so that kind of stuff. I really love teaching. Teaching is so much fun. It's really fun to plan the lessons, to think of the lessons, and then to see the outcome that the kids make. It's really, really fun.
Rewarding.
Very rewarding. Very rewarding.
And the representation aspect as well, I think that is very, well not I think, but it is very important, especially for people that look like us, because at least I know that in like primary and like basic schooling, there wasn't a lot of, I didn't see a lot of people that looked like me that were doing what I want to do. So although it didn't fully deter me from like going after that, because like you, I had like family and friends that like supported my dreams and my passions, but there are people out there that don't have that.
Right.
And then there are also people out there that also like me don't really fully know what they want to do.
Right.
So to like have exposure and to see these things in school, especially from like someone that you look up to, like your educator, that's like really great. And I love that you provide that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It's definitely like you said, it's just like almost like a blessing. I feel like it's a soul-filled job because I'm able to share that.
I'm pretty sure there are times like throughout the journey and even in the future where you felt like discouraged. How do you navigate that?
By still doing it just a little bit, because when I had my children, it was challenging to still make art because I was a mom, and I really just did not have the time or the energy, unfortunately, to make and create as much, but I still did it just a little bit, even if it was just for 15, 20 minutes. Sometimes I would do it while, I was like in the bed looking at TV. I would just draw from TV just a little bit to keep my hands in it. But I would say just to continue, if it's just a small piece. You don't have to always go all out to say that you're still in it. If you're just doing it just a tad each and every day. And then with teaching, it still kept me being creative, even though I wasn't painting as much as I do now. But, when you're a mom, it's really a challenge to find that quiet time. So that was the time where I feel like I was not discouraged, but it was challenging. But my kids were small. Now my kids are older.
It's like, this is my time.
Right. Yeah.
But like finding like a discipline, making it a discipline and then finding a balance so that, because like the adult world is a lot. I'm freshly new to it and I'm learning that.
Yes.
But you have so many different responsibilities, like when it comes to your family and just like paying car notes and mortgages and all these things that you have to take into consideration, like your livelihood. But then there's also like this thing that not just trying, but also being intentional about making that time to do that. Yeah.
And like now what I do is, like you said, being intentional, is that every day from 7 to 8 I paint. Every day. Except for usually Fridays. So like making that my discipline every day. Even if I just go in there and sketch. Every day, that's my time to really hone and get into what I'm going to get into. And just don't navigate from that. I feel like if I navigate from that, I'm going to get off track. So I try to stick with it, every day for at least an hour. Usually from 7 to 8. Sometimes I go at like 8:30, but pretty much 7 to 8.
But it's like over time, like if you're always doing that, it's less likely that you'll get to a point where you're not like producing or creating at all.
Right. And the weekends I got like 2 or 3 hours I can stay in there. And my husband made me a little studio space, so I have a space where I can just close the door and go for it, which is awesome. Yes, it's really beautiful. Yeah.
So, in terms of your future, I know you're not going to know what that looks like, and you could have an idea of what you want it to be, and it might not necessarily end up exactly how you plan it. But what does the future look like for you? Because I know we spoke briefly before about like you wanted to full-time, like become an artist full-time. So what is that?
Definitely I want to just keep making, creating. I would love to try and make a mural. That's something I've always wanted to do, a mural outside. So I don't even know how to go about that, but that's something I kind of want to research and try out. And just keep making art, and keep experimenting and trying new things. I'm even thinking about like taking some classes just to keep exploring. Yeah. So.
Because there's always something. There's nothing new under the sun, but there's always something to learn.
Right. Absolutely.
So just getting different exposure with different, even mediums that like you may not have thought that you would be interested in, and then you take a class and you're like, oh wow, I actually really like this, or this in some way it opens your brain in some part and gives you other ideas for
always wanted to try
projects.
printmaking. That's something I've always loved. So I was thinking about printmaking.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's the whole, but that's a whole.
That's a whole thing. Yeah.
Open it up a little bit more and see if anybody had any questions they would want to ask.
So what this is Age and Moody. Do you envision yourself to be painting always?
Always. Yes. And I think that if it's not painting, it's going to be some form of creating. If it's maybe collage or something like that, but I think I could see myself doing it always in some way, shape, or form. Absolutely.
So you started out using watercolors, correct?
I started out collage, and then I kind of went to watercolor. Yeah.
Well, I haven't seen.
I know I gotta get you some. I have to bring some of those in.
Around,
Yeah.
I don't see any.
This one has a little bit of it in it.
A little bit.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, I see.
At the top. And that one, I just basically used that masking fluid, and then I painted on it, then I rubbed the masking fluid off, and I tore it, and I used it in the picture. So, yeah, watercolor, collage combined.
How do you put a value on the work that you do?
That's a tough one for me. That's very tough for me. I mean, sometimes I'll try and say like, I guess you could say $30 an hour, but you really can't even say that because it's so much that goes into making a piece of art that I just don't even know how to even put a value on it, especially like a painting, because it's like my past, it's my things I'm thinking about. So I usually just say, I'm usually probably underpriced. Because that's a tough one for me. I just never been good at that.
I feel that.
So you're learning about that.
Yes, I'm learning about that.
That's an important part
Yes.
of what you do.
Yes, yes. And also I need to consider, what I've been trying to consider is the framing, the paper I'm using, all of that comes into play as well. So yes, it's supplies, right, yeah.
Because I've heard people, they'll break it up into, different percentages. And, in terms of materials, yes, definitely that's something to factor. But then when it comes to the time, it's how do you monetize that? The time, the energy.
I can't even tell you how many times I stop in and I look at something and I go, and then, it's hours I spend on some, pieces sometimes. Go back and rework them. This one was definitely one that I reworked. This painting I reworked over and over again. I mean, I painted it twice. So, it's just so much time, and then your thought process that goes into it. It's hard to put a price on it.
but then also wanting to make it a reasonable price because
Right.
you do want it to sell.
Exactly.
Then you don't. At the same time, you still don't want to undersell yourself. So it's like, yeah, where do you have any advice on that as a collector, as a gallery owner? What would you say in that regard?
Well, it's a difficult question because it depends on the artist and what level the artist is in their chosen profession. I've seen a lot of art in my day, and the prices are all over the place. So, I think it depends on where you view your value.
Okay.
You don't want to overvalue your pieces because you want people to buy your work. They say the longer you're in the game, the more work you sell, the more you can price your pieces upward. They say that value of pieces are determined by who buys your work. So there was an article recently in the New York Times this past weekend where a young Canadian artist, I can't think of his name right now, but he had a piece of his work sold at Sotheby's for almost $750,000. That was maybe a year or two ago. Now his work, and he's what's the word they use for emerging artists? Now his work is selling for like $10,000. Now that can discourage a lot of artists.
Right.
But sometimes what happens is an emerging artist, which you may fall into that category, sometimes somebody might come along and spend more money for a piece than what a piece is worth.
Okay.
And it can have an effect on the artist because when the artist comes to the realization that that was just a stroke of luck, and you come down to reality. But it's longevity in the art world, and I think there's some luck, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
So, piggybacking off of, like you say, you put your artwork down sometimes, you go back and work it. I'm an artist myself. What do you do when you get the artist block? Like writer's block, and sometimes
I just keep sketching because that's where
Push through.
Right, I just push through. I just keep sketching until I get a sketch that I really, really fall in love with, and then I'll go for it. But sometimes that might take me 2 weeks. Usually probably within 2 weeks I usually find a sketch. Oh my goodness, I love this sketch. I'm going to go with this one. But sometimes I just keep at it. Just keep at it until I find something that I fall in love with. I have to really, really love the colors, love the design, and then I'm like, this is it. This is the one I want to go with. I want to push it till it's bigger. So I always start with my sketch, then I go to my middle size, then I go to this size. I would love to go bigger, but I don't know if the watercolor will allow me to go bigger.
They don't allow you.
Right. I want to go bigger than this. That's my next idea as well.
Because people like big.
Yes, they do. Yes.
so what, like, I'm fashion.
I know, yes.
Jewelry, I do so much.
Yes.
I'm trying to like narrow down. But I have magazines, I got jewelry pieces all over the house, but sometimes I overwhelmed.
Oh, magazines. I have clippings. I have just books of magazines that I've torn out. Things I see on TV sometimes inspire me. Sometimes I see a person, the way that the camera hits them in the light, I'm like, oh, that's beautiful. And I might make a sketch, Sometimes it's
Social
just,
media.
right, sometimes it's just me walking and I'm like I said,
Right,
the environment, when I'm driving in my husband's car and I'm like, ooh,
music.
music, absolutely. Music is very important. Very important.
Find inspiration like in anything.
Yeah.
You mentioned the name of an artist who inspired you. Who was that again?
Jerry Pinkney, Faith Wrinkle as well, because she started out as an art teacher too. And then she pursued fine arts, but she started out as an art teacher. So but I love Jerry Pinkney's work, his illustrations. And he has work down in the Whitmore gallery down in Chestnut Hill.
Uh-huh.
He has some pieces down there. Because he's from Philly.
Yeah, you could argue.
Yeah, no more. Nobody else has any questions?
Hey guys, how you doing?
All right, how you doing? I have a question.
Okay.
Okay.
Like, when do you know when you want to paint something like smaller, or something bigger, like a bigger canvas?
When do I know?
Yeah. Like,
I really have to fall in love with it. Usually when I make it small and I really fall in love with the color and the composition, then I say to myself, this is the one I want to make larger. This is it. But it has to, I have to really, I have to fall in love with it before I decide to go. If I don't fall in love with it, I'm not going to want to finish it. I'm not going to want to do it. So I have to really has to speak to me. It really has to speak to me.
Do you work small?
I do.
Some of your paintings,
Some of my paintings are
they're
small.
harder to, you feel like
Kind of, but I mean, usually my small pieces I use pen and ink afterwards. I do a lot of pen and ink over top. Yeah.
That's something that we also talked about before. Is like you were considering like incorporating oil pastels,
Right.
like to add some more
Right,
texture. to
yeah.
pieces.
I haven't done it as much because I'm scared because I'm like I don't want to ruin it. So I honestly was thinking about doing on a piece that I'm like not that in love with and seeing how it goes because that's one of the mediums where if you mess up, you're kind of like. So I haven't really played with oil pastels as much. I've done it a little bit on top of my watercolors, but not as much as I really would like to. I have to build myself up. Right, ease into it. Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
So, excuse me, Melissa, so do you have artworks that you don't really like and you put them aside and then you go back to them at another
I
time?
do.
Or do you paint all over it and sew it over it?
I haven't done that yet, but I have some pieces that I know they're not finished. Like I just did this one piece where I put collage all around the sides, and I'm like, ooh, that might work with this other piece that wasn't finished. So I know I wanted to go back to it, but now I'm like, I'm going to pull from what I'm working on now and add collage, watercolor collage to around the border. So sometimes I go back to them because I know they're not finished. A couple pieces, yes, some pieces.
So do you find as you're getting older and maturing that your art has changed, the way you
Definitely.
approach it and what you add to it?
Definitely. I feel I can, how the detail, I can really get into the detail more. Because I really just have the time to really explore the details more than I did before. Yeah, it's definitely changed. And it's changing.
Right.
Yeah.
When you retire, you have the time.
Right.
Very
Right.
good.
Yes.
So what encouraging comments can you give to other artists?
To just keep at it, keep pushing, always keep exploring, to work with other artists. I really found that when I work with other artists, you get so many other ideas, and just keep at it. Don't ever give up. I mean, it was a point that I didn't give up, but I definitely wasn't creating as much. But I'm grateful that I just kept sketching, kept playing around, even though it was just for a little while, just to kind of keep myself in it. So just to keep at it. Don't
Do
give
you
up.
carry your sketchbook with you?
I don't carry it with me, but I have tons of them. I always keep a sketchbook.
You got a whole long-term sketchbook.
Yeah, I always keep a good sketchbook.
You probably answered this, but what's your favorite medium to work with?
Right now, watercolor is my favorite, yeah. But my second favorite is collage. That's my second favorite.
Is this one made with watercolor right here?
With the beard, that's actually, yes, that was one of the photos that my dad took, and
That's it.
My question was,
Very good.
I made
With
it.
the boys? Because this one seems like they're moving.
No, that's watercolor too, but this is the one the picture that my dad took, and I painted it.
Right.
So yeah, that's watercolor too.
About how long do you feel like this took you?
The funny part is this is an old painting. This painting was done, I want to say like 3 or 4 years. I can't even tell you how many hours I spent on that painting. I can't even tell you. I don't even know.
you know what, when you do the Instagram, you speed it up.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
If I put it in real time, it would be like hours.
So, have you ever worked in gouache?
I do. Yeah, I use a lot of gouache. In some of the areas where it's a little bit more opaque, I do use gouache.
Is
Yeah.
it more vibrant, the colors?
Just to like give it like a different level of I can't explain it, but like a level of thickness. Like for the woman here, wherever the woman is, that blue on the side of her scarf, that darker blue is gouache. You see what I mean? So it gives it like a more like a thicker, more intense color than the watercolor does. The watercolor is very loose. Gouache in her hair. I use gouache a lot. I intermix watercolor and gouache.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's similar.
Yes, absolutely.
That's actually something I've always wondered, like what the difference was between the two, because they do seem very similar.
Yeah, it's just a little bit thicker, a little bit more opaque than watercolor. That's all.
I have a question. So, how gracious are you with pieces that you don't like? Like, when do you know, like, it's time to let go, and, like, it's time to move on, and, like, what is that process like?
They usually say, Auntie, you can have this, or friend, you can have this. That's usually what happens. Oh, you can have that. You like that? You can have that. That's usually what happens. And then I had a neighbor that came over. She's actually a collector. And she came into my studio and she was like, what about these? I'm like, oh, you can have that. I don't want that. You know, so that's usually what happens. Some pieces I just don't care about them anymore. Yeah.
But pieces that, let's say, like, you make now, and, like, let's say there's a piece that you're working really hard on, and, like, as you go, kind of you're not really liking how it looks. Like, how is your process of being okay with that, unless it's just like, well...
I usually hang on to it and come back to it. And if I'm not liking it and it's not going the way that I planned, I'll just put it up for for a while, honestly, and then I'll come back to it. Just the painting I'm going to incorporate the collage, I did that a while ago, and I knew it wasn't done. I liked it, but it needed something, so I'll just hang on to it until the idea sparked again.
So do you get attached?
Oh my gosh, very much so. Yeah, I do. They're like my little babies.
So it's hard to sell them once.
It's not hard, but it's you know, I do feel a little bit of sadness. I do, honestly. Yeah, I do. Because I really put a lot of time into them. And I really do, and
So
you
it's
know,
like then to like...
yes, to give it up is like, woof.
Contribute.
Now my neighbor she commissioned me to make a piece. That wasn't as hard because she asked for certain colors and she asked for the swimsuits to be a certain color, and I was just like, okay, you know. So
This
it was
is your idea.
right. I was like, when I was done, I was like, there you go, you know. But so that was different. But the ones that I make, that I just make from my own imagination and my own research, they're a little bit more. They're harder to let go.
Is
Especially
that...
family pictures.
Yeah. Like I don't know if I could ever. I love that picture so much.
Is that why you...
You say you love it, you go with the salad?
I mean, it's just hard to let go.
It's here.
You know, you know, that's what you got, it's funny, everything you create for a purpose, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the purpose is to share with somebody
Yes,
else. Right?
absolutely.
That
Yeah.
means you go to sell it.
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
But then there's the aspect of prints, and I know that you offer them on your
I do,
website.
yeah.
So I would assume that like that's an aspect of it, but then also because you can monetize it more.
Right. That definitely. And it's just it's a cheaper way for people to buy art and to appreciate to buy my art.
That's definitely important,
Yeah.
especially for people that are like just starting out collecting or like figuring out what they like and what they don't like.
Yeah. Because the prints are, they don't.
Just with the economy.
Right. It's not that. It's not this. It's a total different thing. And it's nice that people can appreciate it all over the place because I have my Etsy page and people buy it and I'm like, wow, like it's all over.
How did you find it?
Yeah, like wow, this is really, really like I'm super shocked. when they, what do you call that, email me or whatever, they want to buy it, and they're from Illinois. And I'm like, wow, okay. So that's pretty cool. Like you said, the making the copies makes it easier to sell your work to me, because it's definitely more affordable.
Affordable, accessible. Yeah, that's definitely important.
Yeah.
Well, before we close out everything, I just want to, anybody have anything I want to say before?
Thank you so much.
I
Thank
really
you both.
appreciate, yes, I really appreciate you for being here. I appreciate everybody else for being here. And just us getting to dive a little bit deeper into your life and just like your journey. And I know, at least for me personally, I really took a lot away from what you said. And just anybody else, anywhere else, hopefully they could take something different as well. This was great.
Thank you so much. Thank you both. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity. And thank you, aunties, and uncles, and cousins, and everybody that came out. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you, thank you.